Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Gambit on the Going for Two Live Network. My guest this episode is Gerson Aguirre, one of the members of the Going for Two family. So, Gerson, here to talk about some cool Dynasty tools. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. We're in the dead zone, as we like to call it for fantasy. But I think when we're in the dead zone, all we can do is reevaluate our skills and figure a way out to get better during the season and the off season. I mean, the off season's about done. I mean, I think one of my buddies said 36 days away or 40 days away.
Yeah,
Something
I
like
mean, think about it. It'd be starting certainly less than 60 days, right? Because we're less than 2 months away from the NFL season kicking off. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, probably around 40-ish days or so.
No, wait. No, my buddy said 40 days because when our draft is, so like our redraft. You're right. So it might be like 60 days. Yeah. But
50-ish. Anyway, it's we're in the double digits of days, the dog days of summer here. And as always, I'm your host here on the Dynasty Gambit, Kyle Senra. And before we get into the big discussion, because I know Gerson and I will like to talk, so once we get going, it'll be tough to stop. Yeah. So we'll get the ad from the sponsor in right away. That is Underdog Fantasy. And for those who haven't joined Underdog yet, we've got a couple options for you here. If you're watching on video on the Going for Two live YouTube page, or potentially on Twitch, Facebook, or even Twitter, you'll see a QR code. You can scan that. And again, if you haven't signed up yet for Underdog, when you make that initial sign up using the QR code, they will double whatever your deposit is up to $100. So if you initially put in that $100, they'll give you an extra $100. You'll have $200 in your account. You can use it on different sports. I mean, different best ball drafts, of course, for football, but you could also use it for different sports, picking game scores, higher or lower on player stats in games as well. A variety of sports. And I guess there really is no NBA, NHL happening, but there's always baseball. There's soccer leagues happening all over the world, of course. And I think they have golf. They might have CFL. I don't know. But if you want to find out, go to Underdog, sign up. Again, use the QR code or our promo code GF2 for those who are listening to the podcast on audio, which we appreciate. But again, encourage everyone to head over to the Going for Two Live YouTube page, subscribe, like the video, comment. Join us in the chats live to comment, but also comment under the video. That really helps the algorithm, as I think Brian Ford on Dynasty Saturday Night likes to say, it feeds the algorithm overlords with things like liking and commenting on the video. So appreciate all that support. But Gerson, really appreciate that you decided to join for this episode.
No, man, thanks for having me, man. Like I think we do this at least twice a year. I come on or something, but I felt like I haven't came on this year, and I was like, man, I got to hit up Kyle, man.
Oh, but that is true. We haven't had you on yet for the here on the Gambit, so about time. And yeah. Great idea.
Yeah.
Yes, it's your idea, so I'll let you give the spiel.
So, I mean, basically, like I said, this is not going to be more of a. We're not going to break down players too much. We're probably just going to talk about our opinions, but this is going to be more of a research, like how to build your team, a tool that can help you craft your team to perfection. I just discovered this tool probably 3 months ago, 2 months ago. The tool is called Dynasty Daddy. It's fairly new. I mean, a lot of the top portfolio players are starting to use it. A lot of people on podcasts from a lot of different podcasts are starting to mention it. And I wanted to bring it to the Going for Two family and mention it here because I think this tool is beyond amazing for how much it is, like how much it costs. It's free. That's how much it costs. So think about a tool. Speaking for me, that I have Fantasy Pros because I'm a ranker, but I get that. And but other people you have to pay. I think it's like $49.99. I could be wrong. And then there's other sites like Dynasty Nerd, other websites, DFL. I mean, you're still paying probably from $50 to $100.
Whatever it is, it's not free.
It's not free. This tool can do basically everything they can do. but for free. So I don't know about you, Kyle, but I like free stuff. So, but
Well, and before we keep going, I do want to mention the Going for Two Discord is entirely free. I know not
yeah,
every
sure.
fantasy football content creators Discord is free. Some you have to pay through the patron to get access or pay a separate fee. But every single Going for Two channel on the Going for Two Discord is free. So whether it's any of the fishbowl channels, trade talks, or talk discussions about ranking, just general fantasy content, all of it's free. So yeah, if you like all these interactions we have, head over to the Going for Two Discord. Yes, we can keep talking on I guess the mother of all Dynasty tools, which is Dynasty Daddy.
Yeah. So let me see. I'm gonna see. Can I share my screen? Can you see the screen?
I will share that right now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is Dynasty Daddy. You go to dynasty-daddy.com. This is it. These guys are pretty awesome. I actually know the guy that created it. I communicated with him. He's only trying to make his website a lot better. First thing you need to do is put in your team. They have now a lot of other sites. So they have MFL. I have teams on MFL. They have Flea Flicker, ESPN. I have teams on ESPN. My FPPC. I will have teams on there because I'm gonna invest in higher stake league pretty soon. But as of right now, I have most of my team on Sleeper. So you type in your Sleeper username, you click sign in, and then I have 23 leagues on there. So 23 Dynasty leagues.
And sign in is a little people think you have to create an account or something to sign in, but you don't. You just you've already created your account with your Sleeper account, right? It just draws right from that. So
one of the things that is kind of crazy about this site, I can legit go put let's see, I'm just gonna say I know this person because I play in a lot of league with him. I can go put his username and I can find all his leagues.
Yeah, I know Jamie, who's often in the chats, is also part of the Fantasy Cheat Sheet, one of the shows on the Going for Two Live network. Whenever there's a discussion coming up on Sleeper, he'll plug the league. He'll find that person. He'll plug in their ID and find that specific league they're talking about. And like when he's giving trade advice, well, it's like, okay, yeah, but this, by trading with this team, though, you may be making them a contender. And Jamie's here. He can give better context. But I saw him do that today earlier. Someone mentioned a trade in a league, and he kind of brought up the entire league as an outsider, which is kind of cool as content creators that we can that we can, we don't have to ask a million questions to find out about league information. We kind of have access to it right there. No, and I mean, like, if we're going off, so Kyle, I mean, I don't have the sheet that I sent you yet in front of me, but we'll go off those questions. I mean, you can ask me those questions, and I'll just kind of we'll go back and forth. Maybe I can just pull it up right here, but I believe the first one was power ranking. Yeah, and I mean, it does kind of go in order of how things are listed. But yeah, we've got Toronto Dave in the chat, Jamie in the chat, and for this Power Hour, let's start off talking power rankings. So, how do you utilize the power rankings to your advantage, Gerson? So power rankings. So let's say I'm draft. This is my Scott Fishbowl draft, though. So let's say I want to go to. Let's see. I'll click. I'm gonna. My Debbie. It's the Debbie League. This is the Debbie League, right? I almost thought you were gonna go to the 32 team league just to. No, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there because that would just be a bad, like, how do you say it, explanation, because nobody plays in 32 team league. So it's funny because right off the hop, the color coded, I can almost tell certain things about this league already because I know it's like, okay, well, who doesn't have any draft picks right now? Yeah, and the crazy thing is, so like, this is it. You click on power ranking, these are the power ranking. I'm pretty sure you recognize some of these names in here. J Main, I'm pretty sure you've seen that name. Evan Ritter. Ah, yeah. Evil Empire, he writes for Fantasy Pros. My brother. I mean, these are a lot of good players in here in this league. These guys know what they're doing. So the first thing first is color coded. Draft capital, tight end, wide receivers, running back, quarterback. Now, if I wanted to, I can go to my toggle button. This is going by the fantasy market keep trade cut.
I will say this: I'm not the biggest fan of keep trade cut. I think keep trade cut is more of a "what have you done for me lately" thing for Dynasty. I think people they change the market on their own. I prefer to get my ranking based on a 3-year value. Um, so the closest one I liked on these ones that are close to my similar taste is the Dynasty process. They're very close. And I'm not saying that because it bumped my team all the way up. I'm saying that because I think that was the closest thing to like where I have evaluated my tools compared to theirs.
Well,
Obviously,
and to be fair, if you're kind of valuing certain things in a certain way that matches with their priorities, it would make sense that they boost you a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And that's the
So,
thing. Like,
I guess in this context, what we've seen, just like real quick, the yellow has kind of shrunk. So, like that, what you had at that last one, draft capital isn't as important as the starting lineup in the rosters itself.
Yeah.
Whereas on the one where everything's super low, then the draft capital seems like it's kind of closer to equal with the roster.
But we can just do for the sake of this thing, we'll do keep trade cut because everybody knows keep trade cut. So if you look right here,
even if Jamie's not a fan,
organize it by tier.
Yeah, and there's that
So
different
I always click
categories
on the tier, and then so
who are the contenders? Who are the pretenders? Essentially,
yeah, it goes contender, frisky, fraud, and trust the process. Trust the process basically means rebuild. So it's just straight up like it's so organized. But the biggest way, so like let's say I'm joining you, I'm pretty sure you've had people tell you, hey Kyle, you want to take over this orphan team, and you're like, I don't myself, I don't take over orphan teams unless they're a contender. Unless I know they're 1 or 2 moves away from a championship. Because I'll be honest with you, I work pretty hard for my money. I don't like to donate it. So if someone's giving up a team, they're asking they need someone to take it over. If I think it's 1 or 2 moves away, I'll join it. So let's say I joined this team, right? Let's say I joined my team, right? And I actually made some moves already. So I see the team that's Project Mayhem, right? And I'm like, all right, I'll go straight to him and be like, hey, I see, are you rebuilding? And then more than likely, they'll say yes. The team that's proud will likely say they're rebuilding too. But the best way to tell that, so overall ranking. So you click on overall ranking, you'll get strongest to weakest. But obviously, sometimes a team can have a really weak bench, but they can have a juggernaut starting team, right? I will go to the starter ranking first. I will click on the starter ranking, and if it comes pretty close, like 1, 2, okay, that team's not gonna fall out. 2, 5, okay, that team's pretty good too. 3, 9, ooh, okay, what's wrong there?
But the depth might question if something goes wrong, this team could slink to the bottom quickly, and they may view themselves as, oh, my picks are going to be late first, so it's not as valuable. You might be able to get them cheaper than the team that's in trust the process. Maybe they're already in clear rebuild mode. They're not the team that's going to want to sell their picks anyway.
Oh, bingo. Correct. So let's say that Evil Empire team, which is a very smart owner. I can't see. You have to know your league. That's another thing. But this guy, he has a great starting rank, right? But overall, what's weak about him? Okay, he doesn't have draft assets. His running backs are not good. Okay, so let me see something.
Yeah, it looks like they're top 3 in almost everything else. But
yeah,
the running backs drag down, and the lack of draft capital drags down their overall ranking.
Okay, so this guy is a compete team, right? Like he can compete. Okay, so but here's the thing: his starter rankings are 3, but his overall rankings are 9. So that tells me that his overall ranking is 9. That means his bench is weak. So while if he loses 2 starters, that's gonna affect his team in another dynamic, right? So if he loses 2 or 3 starters, he could legit fall all the way to a bottom 5 pick, bottom 4 pick. All right, I'm gonna keep a tab on him. I'm gonna see what. And this sucks because this is a W league, so it probably wouldn't help out too much. But still, this is the same process with any other league. You can do it. again, I'm going
I'll
right
be
here.
honest, and specifically for Devi leagues, what I'm in one Devi league, and what I managed to do this year was I had 3 first-round Devi picks, and I found ways to trade them all the way to get Trevor Lawrence in one deal and Damian Pierce in another. And I really needed that starting quarterback. Basically had just Mac Jones. And then I think for Damian Pierce, he instantly becomes the RB1 on the team, and there's no one else really close. So it was two big needs. So sometimes in Devi, having the draft capital is nice, but not to make the picks because it gives you the flexibility to make trades for specific assets.
Oh, hands down, and that's the best part. I think that's what makes it so fun. I mean, I'm not trying to get cocky about this, but in this league, I believe I traded Will Levis, Marvin Harrison Jr., my first, second in 2025 Debbie pick for Jalen Hurts. So the biggest asset I gave in there was definitely Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's going to be next year. He'll probably be drafted top 20 in startup. I would not be shocked.
Whatever players you get with those first, you'd wish would be Marvin Harrison. So like once you're giving up that good of an asset, you know the extra first on top, it's added value, but ultimately we still don't know that I think everyone assumes Marvin Harrison's going to be great, but we don't know that for sure. Whereas we know Jalen Hurts is a legit quarterback.
So another thing you can do on here, I love this thing because let's say, for example, my team, I have the strongest starters, right? But I don't know why I said that my quarterbacks suck because I have. Is this the right? Oh no, this isn't in this league that I have. What's his name? Jalen Hurts. This is a different league.
Oh.
But so in this league, I believe. Well, I can look.
Well, so it's funny because I looked at one where I have Josh Allen and my QB rank is like 7th or 8th because I think it's Jared Goff and it's Ryan Tannehill behind him, whereas other teams maybe don't have as good a quarterback as Josh Allen, but it'll take into account like the whole of the roster to a certain extent.
So the great thing about this is that you can click on whatever team you want and you can see their roster right here. All their picks, all their tight ends, all their wide receivers, all their running backs. So like let's say my team, right? I have Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones. That's ranked 11th in quarterback. I mean it's mid-tier. I don't know how that ranked 11th in quarterback because I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's funny because in the FPC Dynasty League, I've got Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins, and I think I'm ranked 12th or 11th again, right? So it seems like whatever the algorithm's doing, Dak Prescott is not necessarily considered a huge value. It's kind of a common denominator because I think Cousins and Daniel Jones, their dynasty value is probably pretty close to being potentially top 15 guys, but certainly top 20. So the Dynasty Daddy does not like Dak as much as others.
So running back, I have Taylor, Saquon, Kenneth Walker, and then a bunch of just mediocre running back. Madison, Shane, Kendall Miller, Gibson, Kamara. I mean, there's a lot of running backs. I probably use that later on.
Some of those are better than mediocre. That's a pretty good running back group, G.
Yeah. And then I have CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. Not a pretty bad, and Debo on the bench.
You not a bad wide receiver depth with that many like top end guys. You want more depth at running back in that league. So I like the way the team's built.
It is a tight end premium, so they put an implication on tight end premium. I will tell you this, Dynasty Daddy, the creator told me that he's trying to implicate more value on the tight end value through the website, but he doesn't want to overvalue it. So he's trying a way to make it better. He has done a lot better, though, because before this was a lot lower. So I can check out my team straight from there, right? I mean, again, like let's say I have a need at wide receiver. Like let's say let me close this guy. Oh, how do I go back?
Well, to say like I think I'll riff a bit while you're trying to figure it out, but essentially though, like okay, I need this position. You can look to see which teams are strongest and thus likeliest to be able to trade from that position of strength, and where you can target as the first teams to trade to.
And it's a good way to improve your roster. I can see, hey, this guy needs help at running back. All right, I'll go make him offer. Hey, bud, you need a running back. Obviously, you do. If you're ranked 12th, you need a running back, right? Obviously, I can also see, okay, he's not going to take a running back because this guy's just rebuilding. This guy, okay, he needs a running back. Or this guy's ranked number 4th overall, J-Main, right? All right, he needs a running back, but he's ranked 4th overall. Maybe he wants a running back. I got running backs, Let's go offer him something.
Yeah, see, he's ranked 10th, right? So and his starter rank is so low. Maybe that's the one thing that needs it, where he needs help as a starter. So whether it's Kamara or Saquon or Taylor, you've got guys that are legit starters at running back. Alexander Madison right now is probably viewed as a legit starter.
Oh yeah, Alexander Madison, like he could be a good, hey, let's just 2 years, And I know I don't know how you play it, Kyle. I play it with a 3-year window, Dynasty. I don't really play it year to year. I believe that a player has 3 years before their value can completely drop off. If you look at Deebo Samuel, in the last 2 years, his value has gone from superstar to now mediocre top 24 wide receiver.
Well, I even think of like heading into 2021, how his value dropped, after his second season in the NFL, Brandon Ayuk's rookie season, his value just like almost plummeted where he was so cheap. And then it made the, wide receiver 3 finish the next year in 21 so massive. But then last year failing to live up to those expectations, we've seen him dip again. Maybe not quite as far as it was 2 years ago in the offseason, but still maybe lower than it has been since the start of the 2021 season anyway.
Yeah. And like it says right here, the starter value is calculated by selecting the best possible based on a trade value. It does not factor significant status like IR, suspension, COVID. A starter is denoted by the star next to the player's name on the roster table. So their tier, the way they do their tiers is a super team, contender, frisky, fraud, rebuilding, and trust the process. Those are their 6 tiers. And so right here we see only 5 tiers. There's not a super team in here. I'm glad there's not a super team. I don't want to see a super team because that just tells me,
especially with over half the league being competitive, it's probably not going to be a super team. If you get one super team, you probably have very few teams that are in that competitive mode. This way, we've got more than half the leagues. It looks like 7 out of the 12 are competitive, which will, and then really frisky is that next level of they could compete. That's 10 or 12 teams that are either contending or frisky contenders. So probably a healthy league where there's not too much obvious in terms of like where the bottom picks are, which also means the picks might be moved more freely. Not as many teams are committing to. I'm holding this pick.
I'll show you a league that there is a super team, and I know this because my brother is a super team.
Okay, I figured it'd be required, either be you or Jason. But
and so let's do it. I think I did it this by because I told him, oh great, and it was by. I know his team's a super team though. His team is disgusting. Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Christian McCaffrey. This is a 1 quarterback league. So Christian McCaffrey, Eckler, Aaron Jones, Kamara. Then he has Jefferson, Chase, Cooper Kupp, Adam, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, and then his tight end didn't It don't matter. But the fact that you have 4 of the top 10 wide receivers tells me it's a super team. And then you have 2 of the top 5 running back. It's a super team. But I think it's changed a little bit because I think he made a trade or something. But super teams do exist. It sucks when they exist because you kind of just like
team.
My team.
If it's your team that's a super team, that's great. But for everyone else, it sucks.
Yeah, but let's be honest here. Like nobody. It's great if it's everything, but sometimes it ruins the morale of the league. Like people just like, oh well, here you go. Let's just donate. I hate when that happens. I want everybody to enjoy the league,
How long have they been a super team? Is it a team that's just now become a super team, but they haven't actually won yet? That's still fun. But yeah, if it's okay, this is a super team that they're 3-time straight champion.
Whoa, that super team, Jason, he went 17-0 last year. He whooped every one of us.
Okay, so not just the appearance of a super team, he's got the results.
Yeah, he backed it up. But he worked hard. So the next thing we do is the standing.
Second section for sure. Jamie's mentioning apparently he's got in the fantasy intervention league that's a super team, and it's not apparently he doesn't say it's a super team because they broke it down on the new Saturday show. That's Raul and Jerry on the what's it called? The fantasy assessment. There you go. So I think they've got another show coming out this weekend. So either it's Saturday. There's a PLP on Saturday as well, which I can't. I guess we can plug PLP's 2024 because all the 2023 dates are booked. So if you want a personal league podcast for next year, you can contact Jeff now and try and get that book because apparently the marketing campaign working, we got a bunch filled.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, so they actually broke down Dynasty Daddy on the new show. Did I miss it?
No, they broke down Jamie's super team.
Oh, I was like, wait, what?
So yeah, so check out the most recent fantasy assessment if you want to see what a super team looks like.
Oh heck yeah, dude, Jamie, I gotta get in a league with you, man. I'm pretty sure it'd be awesome. I already have I had a couple leagues with Kyle, but then now I have another one, and it's a hard league. Like it's a good league because thank you, Kyle. Like I said, I did use Dynasty Daddy for that when I joined it because I wanted to see where that team was at.
Oh right, yeah.
And I wanted to see my draft asset, my draft capital. And I think my team's the top 3 team in that league. I'm not trying to get cocky. I think it's a pretty good team. But thanks for letting me.
I was like the worst team last year, but Dynasty Daddy has me as like right on the fringe of the playoffs this year. So maybe I like what they say.
Yeah. So back to the league standing, right? Obviously there's no record, there's no team, right?
This will be real-time standings for once the season starts. That'll be updated.
Yeah. So it's cool because when it happened, I know this is on MFL, my fantasy league. So they'll do a weekly record versus everybody. So like you come here and then you see the total record and then how you would have done with the whole league, you know? So that gives you a good idea of how to evaluate your team versus the league, right? You want to make sure that you can beat anyone. And that's the way you can see it. It's like this. Schedule comparison, it'll tell you how your schedule stacks up. Calculate what each record team would be against any other schedule, wins or losses. So it gives you the median range, you know. What I want to see is the league inside. I want to see who has the strongest schedule, who has the weakest schedule. Because you know what? What if I know this team is not good at all, right? And then he has the strongest schedule. What does that tell me, Kyle? So he's not going to win many games.
Yeah, the opponents are strongest.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like NFL, right? What happened when the schedule release happened, Kyle? All the teams do what? All the players do what? They look at the schedule and they see how hard is it going to be, you know?
Yeah.
And then you kind of have an idea how the season's going to go. I'm not saying that it's going to go bad, but, I mean, today I heard, and to give you an idea, today I heard that everybody loved the New York Jets, right? But have you seen that New York Jets schedule for the first 7 games? It's pretty freaking brutal. So
they're in a tough division. I mean, it seems like every AFC team is a tough schedule because that conference is just the Thunderdome.
Oh, but they're playing the Eagles. They're playing the Cowboys.
Okay, that's the one NFC division you probably don't want to face is the NFC East.
So the New York Jets, I mean, and Roger, I don't know, man. You might have to go back into that dark room, bud.
I was gonna say go back to Green Bay. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah. So I bet you would love that, huh? But this is one good way to see that. I use that strength of schedule. The other thing I love to use is transaction per team because I can go right here. Let's say, let me find the most active person. Oh wow, this guy had made 27 waivers in 1 trade. Okay.
Makes sense. I could see why it's that because they're trying to add so much to their team to that without making trades that of course they have to be active on the waiver if you're not going to make trades. Yeah.
And you can also tell who's not active in the league. This guy
one team that's got like one trade, 2 waivers.
Yeah. But you know what it does give me? It gives me an ability. Oh, I need a running back. Oh, I can go. Okay.
Maybe not start with that team that's only made 2 moves. They may not be the team paying attention. That's the team that you're waiting around for a response for. So maybe go to them last, or you don't prioritize.
I mean, how many times? And I know this because we've talked trade before, and I know you talk trade with other people. But I don't know about you, but I value my time quite a bit. I don't want to waste it. I just want to get pretty direct. I will send you 2 or 3 messages back and forth. I'll send you 2 or 3 counters. After that, hey, we tried. We have to agree to disagree on our values, and maybe we'll touch bases again. You never know. A lot of things when you talk trade, all you're trying to do is get information sometimes. But what you can do I can also clarify your value on certain players, and I can come back and revisit.
So I have one question about the strength of schedule, and I guess Dynasty Daddy hasn't been operational yet during an NFL season. So I don't know if you know this, but once teams start playing games and like the standings in your league start kind of okay, this team is stronger because like right now the strength of schedule is still based on the projections. Do they adjust that to the in-season performance? Maybe a team that was projected really well isn't so good, so suddenly those teams that had a difficult strength of schedule gets easier because that team isn't as good as we expected. Like, will they make those adjustments?
So, based on what I know and based what I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I think the way it is. So, like, let's say Project Mayhem has a hard schedule, right? It takes your sleeper schedule and then it adjusts it to, the rest of your season. But of course, if that team makes a trade and makes his team better, okay, then the strength of schedule of whatever their leftover opponent, let's say another team makes a trade better and make their team better, that strength of schedule is going to change for them, right? It could be weaker or higher, lower or higher. I mean, it's going to change. But like I said, this tool is more for in season because you want to see the way it's going to work out. You want to see the rest of the season. So like if there's 7 contenders, there's 3 freaky teams, there's fraud, and there's trust the process, right? So I know for a fact we have 7 contenders. At least this bunch of schedule
that
has
trust
to be
the process team almost has a clear path to the 101. If they just
exactly
continue down that path, it'll be tough for any team to be worse than them, right? So
exactly.
In some leagues, you might see more teams in that trust the process, and then it's like, okay, that's the team you want to go all in because there's only maybe half the league that's really trying.
Correct. So like this is a good way to let's say, all right, you're trying to rebuild, right? And you're like in let's say week 6, right? You're in week 6, and you have what? I think playoffs start in week 13, if I'm correct, right, Kyle? Week 13, week 14.
It depends on the league. I think now with everything pushed back, I think even sometimes be week 15, but anywhere in that 13 to 15 range is for a lot of leagues.
So let's say I check at week 7, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go see the strength of schedule for the rest of the team. All right, this team, let's say, Evil Empire. He has the 3rd hardest schedule the rest of the season, right? After week 7, and his record is 3. Let me see if I got my math right. Let's say it's 2 and 4, right? Or 2 and 5.
Oh, there's no way. Right? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
2 and 5. Let's say I'm like, all right. Well, he has the 3rd hardest schedule. He's gonna win probably 1 or 2 more games. He's gonna stay in this range. He's gonna stay in the top 3 picks. But let me just go up to him and be, hey, bud, I will trade you Treylon Burks for your first. It's intriguing. Like,
especially
maybe
if
he'll
like
do
3
it.
and 4, they feel like okay, maybe that one piece away from winning more games and getting the playoffs, right? Whereas you see it as okay, this team's about to, hit the curve, and Treylon Burks is probably not making a difference for them.
He's not. He's not going to make that big of a difference. That's the truth.
We mentioned a player. It took us 33 minutes, but we finally mentioned a player name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess you mentioned Jalen Hurts earlier.
And it's like what you said, Kyle. He's not going to make a difference, but he is going to intrigue him, right? For Dynasty, that's what you want to hear. That's the way I use all this. That's the way I'm going to use it for the season. I'm excited for this tool. I'm excited for this part right here. That's what I use league standing for. The next
it's
one,
funny because the next section was one where I looked at through a bunch of my sleeper leagues just to see it. It's quite eye opening when you see these the playoff calculators and like the playoff percentages. So how do you utilize this tool?
So playoff calculator, the way I'm going to use this for myself. Again, this is all speaking from my opinion. Everybody might use it differently, but I'm pretty sure. Like I talked with the creator of Dynasty Daddy. I wanted to make sure, like, hey man, is this like I wrote like a novel to him, and he loved it. He loved the feedback because that's what he wants. He wants feedback. I will tweet it out like his. If you just go find him on Dynasty Daddy, that's his on Twitter. That's him. I mean, you can reach out to him if there's ways to make this tool better, this website better. Like I said, this is free. So like so far, I don't know how you feel, Kyle, but all this knowledge, all this free stuff, access, and everything, I love it so far. But yeah, I mean, to the playoff calculator, wow, this tells me one thing. Thanks, Jamie. I really do appreciate that,
Jamie's
man.
saying that Gerson's opinion is basically facts, 100%. He
I
didn't say
really,
basically. He said is always facts. I'm paraphrasing basically.
so the reason why I love this part right here because it tells me obviously right away who are the worst team. This guy's not making the playoff. This guy's not making the playoff. This guy's not making the playoff. All right, this guy's not making. Oh,
yeah, that's weird. I haven't usually seen the less than 1% chance to make the playoffs. I've seen that a lot in the first round bye or win championships. So yeah, that's.
Yeah. And then we go and like this is the spot where this is the area where I'm like, ooh, should I offer him like a player, like you know?
They may think they're close, they're a player away, but you really view it as they're a few steps away from really.
Yeah, but it's not only a few steps. I think a few injuries away. I think that's the biggest thing people never put into their team. Their depth and I have a great starting roster, but they never look at their bench. Bench is what. And I hate to say
player
this,
has bye weeks, so you're going to need to use those bench players.
Yeah,
bunch of weeks. Because yeah,
I don't care what your girlfriend or your wife tells you, but that matters, guys. You know, and if you don't have a deep bench, it's gonna hurt your chances to get up here. You know, but for example, and the reason why I named it Project Win Championship is because my brother said Project Mayhem, so it's just a joke, you know. And
he wants mayhem. You just want to win the title.
Yeah, and so he and I'm like, come on, me and my brother, we're competitive. We're twins, dude. But make playoff 95%. I mean, that's pretty damn good. I mean, college study and then myself, right? So I'm gonna click on, and then I can look at the team rating, right? Worst team, best team, win final. All right. So I always want a first round bye, dude.
Crazy, and I think that's an eye-opening thing too, though, right? Like, okay, this team is 95% chance to make the playoffs. And what does that say? Less than 30% chance to win the title. Which, as super stacked as you can make your team, at any point before the championship game, that's probably about as good of odds as you're going to get. Maybe like 35% to 40% max. If you're in the championship game, then it goes up to basically a 50-50 head-to-head.
Yeah.
No matter how good a team you have, it's really tough to say that you have more than a third of a chance to win it all anyway. So there's also a point of diminishing returns. Like when you get to such a stacked super team with depth, that's when you can start selling off pieces for picks. And that's how you like keep that machine going, where you sell off the pieces that aren't as important to your championship. You can still compete, and you've just gained extra capital to help keep that team competitive long term, either through trades or just adding rookies and adding the life cycle of the team. So there's also points where like you can have too much like put into the players in the lineup. If like your entire draft picks are barren, then you're really stuck with that roster, and the players, I mean, other than the few that you don't want to trade, that most of the players that you want to trade are going to lose value.
And that's the thing. Like, I go back to, and I've done rebuild, but I don't do rebuild until I know my team is no longer in championship contention. You know,
all you got to do is get to the playoffs. Like we're talking about these super teams that only have the 33% chance to win it all. So that's a 2/3 chance that someone else other than the best team is going to win.
And I think I've shown you, Kyle, my best team, but I've also shown you my rebuild team. My 32 team, my first year, I tanked.
Oh, yeah.
I traded everything. And then I created a super team. I won the championship. I went undefeated. I dominated everybody. I clean swept everybody. Everybody in that league hated me. I mean, they said, how did he create this team? Well, when people zig, I zag. When people zig. Oh, yeah. But I pivoted. How am I going to make myself different in a 32-team league? I said, I'm not going to have a team. Great. I'm going to donate my first year. But what I do with all my draft capital, I built a super team. And next thing I know, people just, like, they started following the same process I did. Like, Now we have a couple guys that are like, wow, he got Demir Gibbs.
Players in season to then get those draft picks to maybe sell them in the offseason right around the rookie draft for better players than what they sold for the picks in the first place. And understanding the timing of when to make these trades is also important. That's just that's the real strategy. Dynasty Daddy's probably not going to tell you that. Or will they? Will they?
So like I was saying, I want to win the final. I want to see my chances. I want it to be strong, you know? So obviously, let's say, for example, again, I hate them picking on Evil Empire because this guy is a great owner. He's so smart, like one of the smartest guys I know in the industry. Follow him on Twitter, add him on Fantasy Pro, like read his articles. I need to get him on a podcast for the Going for Two Network. This guy is just so smart. I'm actually probably going to hang out with him. We're going to probably go out to a Tennessee Titans Falcons game. He's a good guy. But let's say him, right? He's at 11%, right? He's going to want to make some trade to see if he can get that percentage of the win final up. You know, the closer you get here, the higher your chances are to win a championship, obviously. Your team might be great. I mean, his team is top 3, but his chances aren't that great.
You know, 3/4 chance to make the playoffs, but it seems like this has really stretched out those 6 or 7 contenders are really, okay, they're all probably going to make the playoffs, but then they're all so good that, you know, it's tough to guarantee a win for any of them against each other.
Yep. And projected record, I don't really look at it too much because we never know what could happen during the season. A team can lose 5 starters, you know. Things happen. Injuries happen. I mean, according to the world, COVID doesn't exist anymore, but who knows? Maybe in 1 month we'll get a new disease, you know? We never know. But, I mean, knock on wood, because I sure as hell don't want that. But this is how I would use playoff calculator. I love this because it's fun to show the league. You know, it kind of gives them a little, like if you want to share it with your league, be like, hey, man, this is what it is saying, man. You know what it does? It ruffles the feather a little bit. It makes people think, I'm better than this, you know? They go out and make a little trade. And I've seen it happen. My brother had shared this with other people, and they're like, what is this? Next thing you know, they're like, all right, I got to make some move. It gets activity going in your league, and that's what you want, right?
It's sometimes eye-opening, too. I remember looking at one team of mine that, 2019, 2020, I went back-to-back. The only time I've ever done that in any league, and it was a Dynasty league. And you know, since then, you know, I think I made the playoffs each of the next 2 years, but lost in the first round. Dynasty Daddy has me 12th in that league. And, you know, it's my only Josh Allen team. I feel like I've got Mark Andrews. It's a tight end premium. Like, I feel like I've got good assets, and then yet they're putting me 12th. So that was a little eye opening as to maybe, okay, you know, be really selective on what I'm sending picks for in that league. I think that's the one lesson there.
And that's the thing. Like, I think sometimes as Dynasty players, we just think we have the best team no matter what, right? Well, I mean,
we're confident in our ability to, even if it's not the best team now, we can make it the best team by the time the season comes, the playoffs come. Yeah,
it's like in that 32-team league I told you. I mean, like, people tell me, "Oh man, you're so cocky and this and this." And I'm like, bro, like I worked hard on this team. I think I made over 100 trades and stuff. And then next thing I know, I'm like, I win a championship. I'm like, yeah. I wake up and it's like Bobby, what's his name? Ricky Bobby. Yeah, you know, I just wake up in the morning, I pitch perfect, you know. That's the way I feel about some of my team. But then next thing I know, a couple injuries away, I'm like, damn, I got to do some trades. I got to do this.
And you're really pissed.
I like this. I'm excited to see this. I want to see how it works because it'll give you a probability how to win. I mean, we have this on Sleeper, you know, like it'll tell you. But what I'm more excited about is to see the projected scores, see how it matches with Sleeper, you know, and then the win probability chances, if they're like similar, what projections. I mean, I'm not sure what projections they're using.
You make a trade like, oh, I'm projected to lose this week. Maybe this is the week where I go for, you know, I'll spend my third for a streamer at a position where I would, you know, being really selective which weeks I'm going to do that on.
And the other thing I looked at this, let's say you're on week 13, week 14, right? Or week 12, let's say week 12. You can look at the next 3 weeks of your opponents that are there by the playoff, like right by you. Let's say you're really close to make the playoff, but you might not. Hey, you can make a choice, you know. You can either go all in to try to get into the playoff, sneak in and win it, or you can go to that contending team and be like, hey, bud, I'll give you this player if you give me your first round pick, you know. Because sometimes you know you have no chance, right? Might as well just get a first round pick out of it.
Even a late first is still useful because that's another chip that you can use at a later time. You don't have to tie it to a specific player. You can select a player, but you can also trade it for someone who maybe doesn't have their first. Maybe you sell it back to the team that sold it to you at a different price.
I mean, here's an example. I think I did this last year. I went up to the guy that had Nick Chubb, and I told him, "Hey, man, I'll give you my first round pick for Nick Chubb." And no, I'll give you Nick Chubb for your first round pick. Sorry, I'll give you Nick Chubb for your first round pick. And the guy goes, "All right, I'm down." You're like, are you willing to do that? I'm like, yeah, dude. Guess what? It was like I said, it was like week 12, week 13. I'm like, all right, that guy didn't make the playoff. And you know what the best thing about that league? They do a lottery style draft.
Just like all money in that you just joined. Anyone who doesn't make the playoffs, or I guess there's lottery for the playoff teams, but the consolation bracket. But so did it end up being the 101?
It ended up being the 103.
Okay.
So it wasn't bad. I traded Chubb for the 103. That 103, I went with let's see. I think it was Jahmyr Gibb. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibb. So I technically traded Jahmyr Gibb for Nick Chubb. I don't know about you, but I'd rather have the younger running back that has passing upside. And, well, Nick Chubb, I don't think he's going to get me a first round next year. I mean, it'd be very hard.
I think it'd be likely he outproduces Gibbs this year, but how many more years can we say that after the fact? If Gibbs smashes and it's not the case, that is still a possibility. But yeah, you reset the age clock. You go from a running back on a second contract to a rookie. So, yeah.
So this one's probably going to be our longest. I think we're 46 minutes. I told Kyle that this is going to be the longest segment of the whole show. Let me find a good league though.
So what I noticed, like looking through, is that as part of their trade finder, they've got values attached to every asset. Every player, every draft pick has a certain value. Whether it's, I think usually the highest players in the league will be in like the 8,000, 9,000 range, and then it goes down to just the hundreds for the cheapest picks.
Yeah. So this league is a keep trade cut. So I'm doing keep trade cut. This league is a super flex league.
And I guess that's one of the questions for later, but you can adjust. I mean, because it'll tailor to your specific league, right? So it'll adjust to your league, whether it's super flex or a single quarterback based on. Oh, okay. You can change it. I see. Okay.
You can change. I can change it. So we can change it. If you go right here, this toggle button right here, take it off, put it on. Like I said, here's the reason why I don't like keep trade cut. Look at this. So Jamar Chase, B. John, Jameer, Richardson, and then Bryce Young all the way down here, right? So super flex, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, but Anthony Richardson stays all the way up there. Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah.
In a one QB, I don't think Anthony Richardson was 5,400.
I mean, in single quarterback rookie drafts I saw, Richardson was not going ahead of Zay Flowers. Like people were taking the first round rookie wide receiver. I saw Flowers as high as the 103 in a single quarterback league. So that's a little. There may be just overvaluing the upside of Richardson at this point, especially relative to Bryce Young, who gets punished for that.
So now go to the market that I do trust, the Dynasty process. I don't know a lot about Dynasty process, but like I said, I've done a lot of research. Like I try to match. All right, who do I trust the most? Like I went and looked at my ranking, and then I try to match it with theirs. Like who you have to do your research on websites like these. You're learning a new site. So Dynasty process was the closest. This is super flex, right? Jamar Chase, B. John Robinson, Jahmyr Gibb over Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young. Yeah, I'll take that. I don't know if I'll take Jahmyr Gibb over Anthony Richardson. But
I don't think I would take Gibbs over the quarterbacks. I would probably draft both of them. But
I'll take him over Bryce Young because I don't think Bryce Young has the rushing upside. But all right, this looks more fair, right? But now take it off Superflex because what happened? It dropped.
You see, Young drops and Richardson drops. So Richardson isn't as valued in the one QB as he was in this is more process.
This is more fair, right?
PTC. Yeah.
So let's say I have all these players. This is a rebuild team. I took over this team. I believe I took over this team as an orphan team. But it wasn't when here's the thing. People don't like the word orphan team. People think it's going to be a bad team, you know. But like sometimes I like to say an orphan team can be a team you can just take over because it's a brand new owner, you know. Like people just think it's going to be a bad team, but they need a replacement. They need an owner to replace. I made a lot of trades. Obviously, I have a lot of use. You look at Demir Gibb, B. John Robinson, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, and this is a super flex league. So
Flowers,
I had a lot.
Levis, Roshan. Jamie loves that. You get the RB1 in Dynasty and Roshan Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're a big Roshan fan?
Well, that's more for Jamie. I am a pretty big Roshan fan, though. I like him better than Charbonnet right now, I will say. But yeah, I still like Kendrick Miller.
I do want to say this because I believe you sniped me in the All Money League. I wanted Anthony
Wow,
Richardson.
that means something because I remember your draft was amazing. You left with like 6 great players, and I was like, man, you wanted Richardson, right?
Yeah, I definitely want it. And then I'm like, wow, Kyle, way to go, man. But you had a great draft, so I can't complain. But back to this.
Yeah,
So let's
I love
say
getting. That's my only JSN share, I think, at this point. So happy to get that.
I could never like even hope for the best when I'm drafting with you, when I'm playing against you, because I know you're just a smart guy. Like you're thinking almost the same way I'm thinking, if not maybe like 5 or 10% off, you know. But
And I mean,
so,
in that league too, you've got Gator J, Achilles in that league, and yeah, Danny and D are good fantasy people if they're they're new to Dynasty. So yeah, you got a lot of smart people in that league.
So let's say I want to trade Jamar Chase, right? Which nobody ever wants to trade Jamar Chase, by the way. And I want to see what I can get. So I can ask trade proposal, right? It will pull up a value trade chart. I don't know if you've ever played Madden or if you ever played NBA 2K, where you can go do a trade proposal, but like find a trade finder or find like a trading block.
Yeah, I remember I played the NHL games a bit, and yeah, I remember doing that there.
So it's kind of like that. So I just put Jamar Chase, right? Based on the settings of the league, based on the player that I want so far, this is what it's saying.
This combination of 3 players or this combination of 2 players that'll equal
Exactly. So let's say I wanted Jamar Chase. Well, guess what? If I went to, let's say, all right, Trevor Lawrence. I need a quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, cool. Let's see. Let's go propose it, right? So open in trade calculator. It looks fair. This is what's going to happen. Your quarterback's going to go up 6 spots in the tier, in the ranking. He's going to lose 5. His wide receiver will go up 4. You're going to lose 6. So this will tell you exactly, you know, how your team's going to change. So let's say I want to, how do I go back? Clear. Oh man, do I have to go? I can't remember if I have to go like this. Yep, I just go back.
And this is, I know we're going to talk later about the trade calculator section. I suppose we can, the trade finder, trade calculator, we can kind of do that all in one section because it did kind of show.
So this is a trade finder. I prefer this rather than, and I'll say later on why trade calculator on, nothing against Dynasty Daddy, but so let's say I can do this over and over. It'll find, I can click this like 20 times, you know? And I can read all these trades and be like, all right, is this something I would want? Does this interest me? Because you never know. What this tool is doing is giving you ideas of trade that can benefit your team. It can help you. It's also giving you ideas of trade that can benefit you, like this one right here. It says it favored Hercules by 3,700.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't think anyone's really giving off Chase to go off to Ken Walker. Like that seems one where maybe Ken Walker is valued highly, but I don't think Chase managers are moving off him.
That is correct. Nobody's going to do that. But let's say someone says, all right, I have enough depth at wide receiver, right? Maybe let's just trade away him. What else can I get?
The best running back I can get, yeah.
All right.
Maybe before the draft that might have been more realistic because I mean I had Ken Walker as the Dynasty RB1 in my rankings. So.
Oh, dude, I remember that, man. I was like, as soon as Charbonnet came, I'm like, oh, I was pissed myself because I traded for Kenneth Walker in a couple leagues. And,
I traded for him in the All Money League.
Yeah, it's brutal here. Cheers, Kyle. Thank you.
Cheers, G.
For you, Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, Ken Walker. The promised prince. No more.
Let's go back to let's add a player, right? All right. You know what? I still don't like this. I want more. So now I have Kenneth Walker, Michael Pittman. Let's say I want to add. This is what it's saying to add, right? All
This is
right,
what the
to
value will
make
be
it
when you add
fair,
it to them.
and it's saying to make it fair. It's not saying the player you want, and they're trying to get a fair guideline.
Again,
Honestly,
whatever they have, I think because Chase is that 8,700. They're trying. Okay, what combination of two players can get as close to that as possible? Or in this
so
case,
let's
three
do
players, I
Kenneth.
guess.
Yep, that's correct. So let's do Kenneth Walker, Michael Pittman, Darren Waller. What does that do? It makes me better
It's still
in my
not.
running
It's
back.
still not higher. The Chase side is still higher by about 500. It looks like.
And that's the thing. Like this was an unfair trade from the beginning, but it's just trying to give you a guideline. Hey, this is an unfair trade. What do you want to do? You can go edit it, you know.
Because the truth is, the team that gets Chase also gets to add two players off waivers, whereas the team that's trading away Chase actually has to cut two players. So if they don't have a lot of depth and you have just one or two good singular assets, maybe that's the type of trade that you would want to make. Then it's all about, okay, is it the specific players that fit? But for it seemed like your team had good enough depth where you don't really want to do the 1 for 3. Like you don't want to be cutting players at the back end of your roster, especially, and to do that by having to move off of Chase to do it is even worse. So something like the Trevor Lawrence deal might make sense if, okay, you modify it. I don't really want to just because you have depth at quarterback. Can you, instead of giving up Chase, can you give up a CJ Stroud or a Richardson or a Richardson and Chase, but then you're getting something else on top of Lawrence? Like that's kind of maybe, again, like you're saying, it gives you the ideas of, I wouldn't have thought of that necessarily, but.
I mean, yeah, and that's true. Let's just say, here's an example right here. This trade right here. I want to go in. I want to be a contender, you know? All right. I'll trade Jamar Chase for DK Metcalf, George Kittle, and Miles Sanders. It'll improve my tight end. You know, I'll lose my wide receiver. I'll lose on wide receiver. I'll gain depth. And that's it. Like, I'll still have a wide receiver, 2? A tight end 1? A running back 2? Maybe. I gain depth. Maybe it didn't equal out to my dynasty value, but you know what it's going to do? It's going to make my team more of a contender. You know? And I still have a young wide receiver there, right? To replace Jamar Chase. So that's one way to use it. The other thing, let's say we all have needs, right? Sometimes we have needs. You can go right here. You click on this toggle button. You can take off. Let's say I just want a running back, right, Kyle?
So you want the trades to be specified? Yeah. Like you're saying, move off of Chase for an RB. What type of deals? Okay.
Yeah. I just want a running back. All right, let's see. All right, this is one thing I did communicate to the Dynasty Daddy guy, the owner, and he said they are working on it. How to eliminate all these trash players from the
just to add the value up to
just to add the value.
Calculators. It's okay. Well, the values equal up, yeah, but I'm having to cut 6 players to make this trade happen.
Yeah, and then he said that they were going to work on that. Like I said,
to be fair, a lot of trade calculators have that flaw. That's not just a Dynasty Daddy issue.
And then this is a free tool, but like let's say right here, here's a good one. All right. Jamar Chase for Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Michael Carter-Williams. Let's take this away. But I think if you were, let's say you were loaded at wide receiver, but you desperately need a running back, the Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry trade
starters right there
is a good starting point. You know, the only thing I would add out of this.
You see, if the third piece, you almost want it to be a pick to make up for the older players, like
bingo,
a third back or something. And that way I'm not having to cut the extra. Okay, I've got to cut one player at this point, but and that's so Player Profiler does it apparently. The value of the roster spot. I think that's the one thing. If you can quantify what a roster spot, a free open roster spot is worth, that can be added to those trades as value of, okay, it's Chase for 6 pieces. And then, it's a roster spot times 5. You're adding that to the Chase side as well.
So, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, again, like if I excluded, let's say I didn't like Derrick Henry, right? I can exclude him. I accidentally did that while you were talking. I can exclude him and then go find another player. All right, so how about let's even it out? Hey, buddy, you know what? You just give me Christian McCaffrey I don't want Jameson Williams because he's suspended, but I'll tell you what, send me Quentin Johnson because I need a wide receiver at least. All right, this is the deal that might intrigue
You
you.
get even a younger receiver than Chase.
You know, and
All right,
so
Jordan,
that's the way I
quarterback.
would use that. The only other thing to add in the trade calculator. So let's say we do this. How many times have you? Hey Kyle, and I know I've done this. Hey Kyle, what do you want for
Elijah Moore?
Elijah Moore, right? I don't know, man. Send me an offer. But all right, here we go. I know we'll go to we should have probably. I probably should have done
Dallas
this with
Goddard.
you.
I think I sent you. What was it? Greg Dulcich in like the. I think it would have been the 210 where I took Richardson for.
So
Goddard.
this is a single quarterback league. Okay. So you want Dallas? Who do you want Jefferson, right?
I love Jefferson. Yeah, I'll take more Jefferson.
Okay. Let's say you want Jefferson, right? All right. All these trades come through. All right, dude. I don't want to look through all these trades. I gotta find G. Oh, there's B. John. Oh no, where's G's team? You don't have to do that. You can go right here.
You can select specific teams. Okay.
Yeah, I can take them all off.
With this team. Interesting.
I can take them all off. Obviously, I'm the one that owns Jefferson though, so I can go to you. Hey, Kyle, you just asked me for Jefferson. This is what I want. Here's an idea of what I want. I want CeeDee Lamb and Geno Smith. But here's the thing: I would not want a quarterback, so I would take that off.
Right? It's yeah.
Because I don't need a quarterback, and I don't need a tight end. I have Dallas Goedert. Why would I want that? You know.
I think I've got Hawkinson and maybe one other dude that's not even worth it. Because when I couldn't get Goddard off of you, I went to Danny who had Hawkinson. I think you wanted the 203, and I wasn't quite willing to give that for Goddard, but I was willing to give it for Hawkinson. So it's also
you did awesome, dude.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good trade for me, and he seemed to be happy with. Like he almost instantly accepted it too. So
I probably wouldn't want picks. I'd want players. So we're going back to the beginning, right? Like, all right, yeah. I just went from trade finder to the whole league. Now I'm just negotiating with you. All right, it's just me and you, mano a mano. I said I only want a running back and a wide receiver. If I'm trading Jefferson, I want solid players. This is your team. If I were to send you, honestly, I wouldn't do CeeDee Lamb for Tyler Boyd because I don't care about Tyler Boyd. If Tyler Boyd, yeah, he's not gonna make a difference. Oh, wait. Okay, what about? Because I wouldn't do any of these. Like I said, you can click over and over. It'll give you different trades.
And the value might say it on this trade, but again, it all does come down to each manager. Like if you have in this thing,
exactly.
Justin Jefferson's price, all that really matters is what you think, because you're the one that's going to be trading him away potentially or keeping him. And like any offer that comes in, you have to be okay with it. So I can't just say, oh, Dynasty Daddy said this, you have to make this trade, right? Like we do let each manager manage their own teams in whatever manner. But it's about creating ideas, right? It's getting the spark.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo. I love this. It's just giving you an idea. It's not telling you, oh, go propose this trade. It's just, I mean, how many times? I mean, like I said, hey, Kyle, what do you want? Or G, what do you want for Justin Jefferson? I don't know. I don't even know what's on your team. Let me go look at it. I could legit just do this and then be like, all right, these are the values on your team. Dude, I don't know what to tell you, Kyle, but the only player that interests me, and here's one of the things that I told the Dynasty Daddy creator. I'm like, is there a way where we can just go click on their, so look at their team, and then just click the players that we like? You know what I mean? Kind of like on Sleeper when you press that like button.
So the trade room, essentially? But yeah.
Yeah, and then he said, I'm working on that. I'm gonna try to do my best. I think this is one of the highest, like he says, one of the highest requests. And I'm excited for when that happens, man. It's gonna be awesome. But I mean,
because I'll be
right
honest,
now,
as much as there's like this things about the Sleeper trade room, I still don't think they quite get as perfectly. Reality Sports Online to me is still the gold standard of a trade room, and honestly, it kind of looks a little bit like this. Because it's salary cap and contracts, there's also contract information that you'll have available to the players when you select them. But it does look a lot like this, where you have your list of all your assets, and you can just toggle between teams and see every single asset they have. If you click on the players in the checkbox, it'll show the contract information. So if you can simulate the RSO draft room or trade room at all, and it seems like they're on that Dynasty is on the track to doing that, I think it makes such an easy way to look at everything.
And this is like we said, this is just a guideline, right? That's all it is. It isn't like, oh, hey, this is what Dynasty Daddy says, Kyle. You never want to approach a manager like that, because guess what?
I mean, I've seen people talk about the examples of, if you go to one trade calculator, it says this side is the winner, and then you go to another trade calculator, it says the other, right? So value is totally subjective. But I guess that is one question I have for you, although I know the answer because it's in the show sheet, but maybe what our listeners would like to know is there, because the episode is called Cool Tools. So as much as Dynasty Daddy is one cool tool, there's another, it seems like there's a trade calculator specifically that you use, not part of Dynasty Daddy. So if you want to share that real quick, this might be the time.
I think so. I've been playing Dynasty now for, I think, all right, since I was 16, 17, and now I'm 30. I'm 34.
So 18 years.
Yeah. I didn't find a trade calculator until about probably like 5 years ago. Trade calculator didn't exist. But here's the thing. I've seen all the trade calculators. I've seen, and I'm not going to talk bad about any of them. I've seen Fantasy Pros. I've seen Dynasty Nerd. I've seen DLF. I've seen, let's see.
I mean, it's like saying, CeeDee Lamb's a good receiver, but he's not the best receiver, right? Like,
exactly.
Justin Jefferson. So who is the Justin Jefferson of trade calculators?
It'd definitely be, it's called Dynasty Dominator. So you go on your app, on your cell phone. I mean, I can't pick up my phone because you know why. But
welcome to the stream.
So I believe it's called Dynasty Dominator. So yeah, you go to your app. This trade calculator, you can only do it on your cell phone. Because if you really think about it, we live in a world that if I were to say, Kyle, I send you a trade, you're not going to go to a desktop. You know what you're going to do? You're going to look at your phone.
I'm the bad example of that, because I will go to the desktop, because I feel like, I mean, I like touch, like I do not like touch screens. I want a keyboard. I want a mouse, because I feel like if I'm on my phone, I'm going to misclick. I've done that in a draft before, where I've been on my phone and I've drafted the wrong player because my finger slid, right? It's like if I'm doing anything with my fantasy teams, I want it to be on my desktop. This, like, part of it is for streaming too, but like one year I won a really big league and I used half the league winnings to buy this really good laptop to help with streaming, but I also want to do all my fantasy stuff on that laptop. So I'm a bad example for that, because I'm pretty old school like that in the sense. Here, I'm talking old school. I want a laptop. Whereas I view in my head, old school is the giant square computers.
Kyle, we know you're not a boomer. Calm down. We know you're not a boomer. You just want direct guideline, right? Like, and I don't blame you, man. Like, I honestly, everybody's different, right? Everybody has different preferences. For example, if I were to tell you one of the best burgers I ever had was PB&J smash burgers, you'd be like, what? Right?
Well, we don't have that in Canada, so I have no idea. It might be the best burger ever, but I don't think I'm ever going
to. Yeah, but then I don't even know if you have an In-N-Out in Canada, but a lot of people love In-N-Out, and I'm like, all right, whatever, it's okay, But this is the app. This is the trade calculator. It is, I believe, $5.
Again, this is part of Player Profiler. Okay.
So Player Profiler is the site that runs it.
Okay, so this is the thing Jamie was talking to, right? It takes account the roster spots. Like, it gives a value to an empty roster spot. So those unbalanced trades, the 3-for-1s, the value seems fairer on them. Yep.
So right here, so you can do evaluate trade, price check, player comparison. You just go to evaluate trade. I wish I could. I can't. But no, this is the best trade calculator in the business, from my opinion. You can do you can do Superflex, tight end premium. You do have to, if you upgrade to tight end premium and Superflex, you do have to pay extra. I think it's like $5 more each one. But here's the way I put it: if you're playing in a dynasty league and you're trying to make the best of bang for your buck, $15. Guess what, dude? You probably spend $15 on a lunch. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if the buy-in is hundreds of dollars, what's the
Yeah.
15?
I mean, we just saw myself when I put in my sleeper code. It was what 22 leagues, and that doesn't include like my 5 other leagues on different websites. So I'm running 27 leagues. I'm pretty sure I might want to invest a little bit into a trade calculator. You know, for $15 for a whole year, So, I love this tool. This is probably my favorite trade calculator. Shout out to Player Profiler. They do a 3-year projection for the player. So, an example.
3-year window, like you were talking about, yeah.
Darren Waller, right? Right now in a redraft, he's probably going top 7 tight end for sure.
I just took him in I think the 7th round of the Scott Fish Bowl.
Yeah, everybody wants him.
Basically the tight end 7.
Yeah, but here's the thing: in a dynasty, in their trade calculator, in their ranking, he is not even in the top 10, I believe.
Probably, yeah. He's outside the tight end 1 range because 2 years from now, that 3rd season,
yeah,
he's probably maybe almost expected he's out of the league, or certainly that's the decline.
Exactly. But like the thing is, a player like Don Kincaid, he's top 10 because he has a 3-year window that he's just going to keep playing. But his projection, he's stuck with Josh Allen for 3 years. I don't know how you feel about it.
Value, it seems like he's almost viewed as a top 6 tight end already. Like he's not quite what Kyle Pitts was, but he's close to that.
I mean, I'm not gonna talk shit about Don Kincaid because I drafted him in my tight end 2 and best Scott Fish Bowl. But this is definitely the best trade calculator out in the business. You can do what's it called? You can do startup draft picks too. So when you do a startup, you can trade draft pick for draft pick. So like let's say hey Kyle, I want your 103. What do you want? And then you go and send me a trade. I can go look at the startup picks that you gave me, and I can be like, bro, your value is a little off. And no other website provides that. I've looked at every website. No other website provides a startup trade calculator. So you can do rookie picks.
I think the one thing with the startups is like the unbalanced trades. Okay, you want my 103? I'm either getting your 1st round pick or you're gonna like give me your 2nd and your 3rd, and I'm just gonna have the extra startup pick. Like I would want it to be something like that. And the calculator might do it as balance, but
that's the thing in that trade calculator. So let's say like you just said, all right, hey Kyle, I want your 103. Okay, well I want your 2nd and I want your 2024 1st. You can put that in the calculator. You can put a 2024 1st, and then your 2nd. Obviously, you can't tell how great his team is because it's just a startup.
If 2 picks have been made and you're at the 103, yeah, exactly. You have no idea what the team's going to look like. But the aggregate value of what I guess with what type of player we're expecting in this range, what that value would equal to.
But one thing you can do is let's say, all right, so we're just gonna get to the nitty and gritty of this. A trade calculator, right? I can go right here. I can go back to this. I'll be like, all right, the worst team. Well, let's say, Gator J, and I love you, Gator J. I know you're part of the Going for 2 family, but what? He's ace? All right, so, okay. So let me just take it, and the cool thing is, if I were to like be in a startup, one of the best sites to like upload the rosters. The only site that does that you can upload it and see the up standing, like the current standing each round, each pick. Like you can just refresh it, rethink it. Is from what I know of is a Dynasty Nerd. So let's say we're in the
right.
Yeah, the GM tool. Yeah. So let's say we're in the 5th round, right? This guy wants my 5th rounder. And then I go and look at his team. I'm like, let me go look at your team. And then let's say I don't even know how to put this because I don't want to put Dynasty Nerd out because you do have to pay for them and I don't want to be out of respect. But let's say I go to the contender tab, I look at his team. All right, guess what? He's not even that great of a team. Oh, so you want to you want my fifth? I'll tell you what. Give me ace, eight. You give me your ace and your first. I'll give you my fifth. Boom. You just made a profit. You just return on your investment because guess what? That team was not even a top contender team. You probably landed a 104, 103, 102, you know? And that's the way I do it, in a startup. Startup is a different monster. Like I tell
because
people
the
like
teams are so ambiguous. There's nothing like
yeah.
it's so fresh that it's tough to know who those pretenders are. So if you have anything edge that can quickly give you that information or at least an idea of what that might be, like that person's trading away their first before they realize that I should have been rebuilding, and yet by the time they make that realization, they've already lost their first. So
yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's like I tell people, man. Like I've made mistakes and I've won trade. I've done all this, but I've done it all. I had to learn. That's the only way you learn your mistakes, right? But this is a perfect way. Like I said, they are definitely the best trade calculator. I love it. You can do startup picks. Their rankings are amazing. The people on that site are amazing. Honestly, I have so much respect for people on there. What was their name? They were on the Going for Two network. Dan and
Jay?
Jay, they were on there. They started writing for them too. I mean, I don't know if they're still writing, but I mean that just shows like the classic character. I mean, it's like I always tell people. I mean, Jeff is one of the best person in the industry. He provided a good doors for people.
For sure.
But,
yeah, I learned a lot from Jeff in terms of how to write articles, and like he's super helpful with the people he brings in. He's not just bring in and do your thing. Like Jeff's super nurturing for the people who are just learning. So
the last one I wanted. So you mentioned trade calculator. You can do the same thing. You can put a player in. You can do a mid first, and then let's say you can go like honestly, it's right here. So you go right here. You click the league. You can adjust it. But like I said, nothing against Dynasty Daddy. My trade calculator is my favorite one. It's Player Profiler, Dynasty Dominator. But this is a good way to do it for free if you want to. But I don't. Okay, so like let's say a realistic trade. So you go right here.
I think again, we didn't necessarily have to talk anything specific here.
We get the idea, right?
We are closing on an hour 20. There's one last section for Dynasty Daddy to talk about the fantasy portfolio. This takes into account all of your teams all in one. Apparently, Jamie's Jeff's biggest mistake was inviting him, and I disagree, Jamie. You're an awesome addition to going.
So this is a shout out to, and I know I'm a big fan of him. I can't speak for you, but Scott Connor is probably my favorite portfolio player, hands down. I mean, the guy. I mean, he has so many. We go from what do you call it? Shillbillies.
Yeah, Hillbillies.
It's Hillbillies. I mean, his Dynasty in 5, Trades in 5. I mean, his Destination.
Destination Dynasty.
Destination Dynasty. I mean, this guy's amazing. He's probably. I will say this. He is my favorite follower. Like my favorite person to follow for Dynasty advice. He's taught me a lot. He's made me a better player. But also, there's a lot of players in this. There's a lot of people in this industry that have taught me and made me a better player. Kyle's one of them. I mean, I can go on and on. Evil Empire. My own brother. Shout out to him. There's a lot of people. Ray UK, Jeff Lambert. I go on and on and on and on and on. The list is so long, But Scott Connor is he's the GOAT, in my opinion. But you click on reload portfolio. You're already logged in. So now all my 22 leagues, right? I have all my shares, all my exposures to all my players.
So I've got too much of this player. Can I try and sell him in a league? And that's where you use the other tools of okay, the trade finder, which league is the best to sell this player in, right? And like you can kind of use these tools in conjunction together.
So, I
Before you
mean,
set out the offers, where's the ideal spot to try and trade this player? Is there the scoring settings like a Debo Samuel? You'll be less likely to want to trade him in a league where they have points per carry because you know he's going to carry the ball more. But just in a straight PPR, that's maybe where I'm more willing to sell Debo. So you can do things with scoring settings, but you can also like look at the league.
oh
With
yeah.
Dynasty Daddy, whether it's the standings, the power rankings, and figure out, okay, of the leagues where I have this player and I want to sell him, what's the best league to start looking at options in?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like as a portfolio player, you never just want to have all in on one player. You want to differentiate because, for example, Kenneth Walker, right? Let's see if I can find Kenneth Walker. I think I traded him in a couple already.
Part of the reason
But
I traded him in all money in and I gave up Brees Hall and a second, and this again was before the NFL draft, when I still valued Ken Walker as the Dynasty RB1, I didn't actually have Ken Walker in any league. So it was motivated. I was talking with Akili and he was okay with it. He wanted Brees Hall. And you know, I admitted, okay, like you know that Ken Walker's the RB1, so I'm willing to give the late second in a 1 QB league to get it. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how that trade goes. Maybe Ken Walker smashes this year and Charbonnet is irrelevant. Like that is maybe not the
it's
likeliest
gonna happen,
outcome.
Kyle. Let's have confidence. I promise you, we'll be
It
good,
is
man.
in
We'll
the
be
range of
good.
possibility, though. I think like
Yeah.
just because they drafted Charbonnet doesn't I mean,
I-
Rashad Penny going to the Seahawks didn't nullify Chris Carson's value at all, right? So like, there's
I'm not scared of Zach Charbonnet. I really am not. I'm not. Like I think Kenneth Walker will be fine. He is a home run hitter, but I just the way I put it, they've always been a run heavy team. So how is that going to hurt him? You know, I mean, last year they couldn't be a run heavy team because, well, yeah, Kenneth Walker and who else? Travis Homer,
I mean, they
Rashad
did
Penny
have
got
Penny
hurt.
until
You know,
once Penny got hurt, then it was DJ Dallas, Travis Homer. Yeah, they needed that
yeah.
second running back. So now that they have it, like they've always kind of operated with two guys being able to be somewhat productive.
So to the portfolio profile, so the way I do it, very simple. I try to differentiate. I have 22 leagues. I don't want to have all shares of the same players. I have Elijah Higgins. I know a lot of people know who Elijah Higgins is,
Dolphins,
but he is a tight end.
He was a wide receiver in college, right? And he's converted now, but he's officially listed as a tight end. So
yeah. And then I'm just hanging on to all my Tom Brady shares. You know,
in case.
it might be a dead roster spot, but guess what? If that dead roster spot decided to join the Las Vegas Raiders, he can be really looking good on my team. You know,
Maybe go to the Hamilton Tire Cats. Ever think of that, Tom Brady? Come up to the CFL, but only for Hamilton though. Don't play for any other team, please.
Hey, I don't know if they can pay him enough. He have to own that whole team.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, Bob Young is pretty rich, but yeah, you'd have to. You'd break contract records in the CFL. Yeah, like the 2-time reigning MOP, not MVP, because they go most outstanding player instead of most valuable. He's making, I think, $600,000 per year on his contract, and like that's like pushing the ceiling.
Wow.
Pre-COVID, you had a couple guys get to like 800, 900,000. And those were like, okay, these are like Claris Grey Cup champions, but MOP players. But yeah, like the $1 million CFL player, I don't think exists yet.
Oh.
It would definitely be a big reduction in price. Yeah, that delusion is probably not happening.
It's gonna happen though. Canadian Football League grows every year. That's the cool thing.
I meant Brady coming to the CFL. That's probably not happening. That's.
I mean, hey man, I'm dreaming that he go to the Raiders, man. I'm dreaming.
That'd be true. Yeah, that would be probably a more realistic outcome.
So like back to the portfolio. So like they play like Elijah Higgins, Tom Brady, Alberto's, but then we get very grit and nitty, right? Like, oh wow, I have Debo Samuel in 6 leagues. I need to pivot. I need to make some trades, see if I can go get someone else, right? And then who is my highest rookie player? Oh wow, Jonathan Mingo. I really like him that much, And I was always big on Jonathan Mingo. I let me put it this way. In a league with a lot of experts, and I would say they are one of the highest, like, how do you say this? One of the biggest dynasty channels out there. I traded all my picks, and I made it to the playoff. I made it to the semifinals, and I only had a fourth rounder. I took Jonathan Mingo with the 4.010.
People
Because
really didn't like the profile, regardless of the second round pick. They were just like, "Oh, he sucked in college."
Well, I took him. They did their draft a month before the draft.
Ah, right. Oh, yeah, and yeah, Mingo. It seemed like the rise happened like quickly
Yeah.
before the draft. Yeah, it's true. He wasn't even on my radar really. Like he was
Yeah.
buried in my rankings like a month before the draft too. So I probably would have been one of those people that also would have let him fall.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I do my research. Kyle, I've talked to you many times. Like,
Yep.
I don't just talk out of my ass. I do my research. I look at the players. I watch the videos. Like, obviously, like, you know, I'm not like this is my life, but it pretty much is sometimes nowadays. You know, 22 leagues, it's hard to manage, but this is the way I do it. So B. John Robinson, C.D. Lamb. I look at all my players. But another good way to do this, I look at the players that I need to do. Like, oh wow, I have Alex Kamara in 5. Okay, then I know in those leagues, I eventually have to replace them.
Or I better be a contender. And if I'm a rebuilding team, he has to be off my team now, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Okay, I'll stomach it. The team I think I can win with him. I'll stomach having him because the upside chance of potentially winning the league is worth maybe not. So, you know, it's worth more than whatever I could have got for him in a trade in terms of future.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In a team like this, like let's say Alvin Kamara, right? What kind of value do you provide? Okay, super players, 12 team, start 11, start 9, start 12. Holy crap, dude! All right, let me go to the start 12 team. Maybe someone needs depth, right? Or maybe I'm not content. Actually, I know I'm contending in this league, but let's say I'm not contending. All right, I know someone in a start 12 is gonna want him more than someone in a start 9. You know, I'm gonna go shift my portfolio and trade him away.
Even if you're a contender, I think you can sell Kamara, especially if you're getting picks for him, and then like in season, early in season, maybe even before Kamara, like if let's say Kamara gets a suspension, before he even comes back, maybe you trade that pick for another player that you can put into your lineup those games without Kamara. Like so, you know, you can also, oh, I'm a contender, I can't sell these players is also maybe a bit of a fallacy. Like you know, it's about balance, right? And I think you've talked about that too, where you want a healthy dose of both, ideally, of players and picks to kind of keep things forward. You might not be able to get it in every league, but
yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Like everybody builds their team differently, right? Mm-hmm. So I can't speak for you. I can't speak for myself. I can speak for myself, but I can't speak for like let's say Evil Empire. Someone like, hey, maybe he's interested like in Alvin Kamara. Maybe he's not. But the thing that the way I put it,
it's a buy low time for Kamara
right
now, especially with the news of
Kamara has to be the highest buy low right now. You know, it was crazy because I don't know why people like. Did you really expect him not to like plead guilty? Like, there's a video out there that shows that he did it. Like he's not gonna fight. If he fights it, he's just gonna lose. You know, but
yeah.
I mean, I bought on Alvin Kamara, but I drafted him in a lot of leagues because in a lot of startups because he was a 9th round, 10th round value. Like, dude, like the return of interest on that. Like, let's say he loses 4-game suspension, you know, for the rest of the season, you're gonna get a great return of investment. Whether he's a running back,
it's so late. You have other starters for those first 4 weeks. You just add him to the lineup, and it doesn't feel like you're missing a beat. Again, having the proper depth too behind your starters is important.
I love this page, the portfolio, because it allows me to see what I'm going overexposed on. Honestly, I didn't know I had this many Joe Mixon until the other week, and I was like, wow, maybe I should make some pivot. I actually had more. I had 8, I believe. I made 2 Joe Mixon trades, and I got a rookie wide receiver and some draft picks. But
so, like, when you say overexposed, like, and I guess like that would depend. Like Elijah Higgins, he was probably so cheap that he's someone that you don't mind being overexposed on because the acquisition cost was so little. I mean, if he fails, okay, you just cut him in a bunch of leagues and you go pick up a player in all those leagues. But like a guy like Mixon or Deebo Samuel, you mentioned. So you're saying Joe Mixon 8 of 22, that's 36%. So you like for higher end players that cost something. Do you want to be below 30%?
Yeah, well, I don't want to have too much because here's the way I put it: injuries happen. So let's say I have, oh my gosh, you know those owners. Oh, I'm a New York Jets fan. I need to have Garrett Wilson on all my team. All right, well, guess what? If Garrett Wilson tears his ACL, what are you doing? You're gonna cry in your corner. You're gonna
What did you,
go.
especially now, if you buy him right now, like what it like
Oh,
if you drafted Garrett Wilson last year in rookie drafts in all your leagues, that's one thing because like the profit margin you've made, like you can maybe afford
pick up.
to sell him in one of those leagues, right? But like if you were to buy him now at that price, that you're spending so much on that one guy, if he tears his ACL,
Exactly.
you probably spent a lot of your draft capital that you could use to bail yourself out, or the depth on your team, and maybe a combination of both.
So the biggest way to say this, like the Garrett Wilson situation, let's say last year he was probably going in the 6th, 7th round. No, he was going probably the 4th or 5th round in Dynasty
Rookie
startup.
wide receivers seem to be just vaulted into the top 20 automatically. Yeah.
So, but now
4th round seems fair.
he went from going in the, for example, JSN right now, he's going in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah.
Let's say he had a Garrett Wilson kind of season, or he had a Garrett Wilson situation, and he went to the 2-0.
He's a top 10 wide receiver.
I seen Garrett Wilson get drafted in a superflex in a 203. So you just gained by drafting him in a rookie draft, you gained 3 to 4 round startup value. That's great. But if you tore his ACL and you have 50% of your exposure to him, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that's the thing. When Jamie's asking what percentage of league is overexposed, I try to be under 50% on every player. I don't want to have. I want to be 49% or less to me. I don't really want to have a player in half of my leagues for that exact purpose. Now there might be one player I make an exception to as I try to add him into more leagues, but because he'll be someone I can just pick up off. Literally, I don't think he's in any rookie drafts ever. I've literally picked up every share.
I think I have 48% over.
Roshan, and that's not enough. No. Well, I mean, he's the RB1 in Dynasty, right, Jamie? So, I mean, can you really have enough Roshan Johnson?
I think it also matters, like, what is the cost of that overexposure? Like an Elijah Higgins,
being like having 75% on Isaiah Higgins.
Yeah,
Elijah Higgins.
So,
I don't know who was Isaiah Higgins.
So, but an 80% exposure to B. John Robinson in a 22 leagues, that's a lot, Like, oh man, dude.
Especially
like I love B. John. I love B. John.
I agree. I think he'll be great, but we don't know yet, though.
I think if I would have put it very simple, Jamie. If it's an elite player, I don't want no more than 30%. No more than 30%. And let's say I'm doing 22 leagues though. It'd actually be 27 if I could add my MFL team, but I don't want no more than 30% because if that player gets a torn ACL or something happens or he turns into Antonio Brown and goes crazy, I just lost so much value on it, But
okay, because you said Antonio Brown goes crazy. I was thinking like 2014 to 16. Man, that was crazy production. But then, you're talking about not so good crazy.
I meant like crazy, like psychotic in the head.
Raiders Brown crazy, not Steelers Brown crazy.
How do you say it? Like, how did insane got no brain? Like he went crazy, dude. But no, I mean that's the portfolio, man. Like this is Dynasty Daddy. It's free. It doesn't cost any money. All these insights that I just gave you, go take advantage of it. Like I can't tell you how many times it made my day so much easier. My trade process so much easier. My evaluation on players so much easier. And I do have one last bonus. You ready for this? I'm gonna teach you this because I think it's kind of a cheat code. Let's say we're gonna start all over from the beginning, and I wanted to say I didn't want to put this on the sheet because this is more of a. It's kind of you can kind of get away from it, right? So let's say Kyle, what's your Kyle Senra, right?
Senra says for my
Senra
sticker.
Senra.
Just like my Twitter handle.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's say right there, right? I see your team. Sign in. I can actually. This is a good way to do it. Let's say you go. You ever seen that guy that goes and says, "Oh yeah, I had Drake London on the block." Always putting a player on the block, right? Why is he putting that player on the block? What have he done for him, or what? He might have to have him in other leagues, right? All right, so you go here.
You can see other people's portfolio as a way of when you're managing with them in one league. What are they doing in other leagues? Maybe you can get insight there.
So you go to team pages. I can click on them. I can look at the activity feed, and let's say, or okay, he made a trade. Let's see what his trades. Let's just pretend that. Well, this was this was a great trade right here. I believe you got Jamar Chase, right?
Oh yeah,
And
Chase in the third for Jefferson.
Yeah, you gained draft equity for a player that I honestly think Jamar Chase might have a better season than Justin Jefferson.
And I'm pretty sure that pick turned out to be Luke Schoonmaker in a league where it's not a tight end premium, but Juwan Johnson is my best tight end. So like it was kind of a position of need I was able to fill. I've got Dak Prescott too. So if Schoonmaker hits, I've got Stack with the QB. So there was a lot of intrinsic value just on that pick of who it ended up being as well.
And I do apologize, Kyle, for actually pulling up your profile like that. But I just wanted to give an example.
That's all good. You brought up one of the good trades, so I feel good about that one.
This is a great way to evaluate someone else's evaluation on a trade. What are they doing with that player? Why do they want that player? And it might take a little effort, but guess what? If and I already did this.
We love doing this work. This is the fun kind of work, right? So I don't mind making
I mean, you get curious. A guy in my 12-team Superflex tight end premium. I had him. I was in a league with him in 3 leagues, and he put the same player on the block. I'm like, if he had that same player on the block, he already traded him somewhere else. And this guy's a portfolio player. I went and looked. He traded T.J. Hawkinson for less than what I thought he was worth. So it gave me an idea. All right, I'll give him this
same
player.
offer in this league, and if he did in one league, he should, right?
And I'll gain value in this league. That's a good way. This is a good way to do it. I think it's a cheat code. It really is, because it gives me, without even asking you what you want, I already know what you want. And if you tell me I want this and that and this, guess what? And I've already done this, and I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, actually, but
yeah, we're an hour and 36 minutes in. Your swear quota, you haven't hit it at all yet, so you go ahead.
Yeah, but I can mind F people. I can't tell you how many times I mind F people. Hey, but I already know that you traded T.J. Hawkinson for Pat Freiermuth in a second. Why won't you take it from me? And he'll be like, how did he know that? Well, guess what? I already know your evaluation on that. So if you're going to ask for more.
Know the league setting, so they can't come out, well, that league is different than this one.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
And this is what's great about Dynasty Daddy, dude. You have everything at your hand. It just matters how much you want to take advantage of it. And again, it just matters how serious you are as a Dynasty player. Kyle, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, this stuff is awesome. I love talking about this stuff with you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to do it on your Dynasty Gambit. Honestly, there's no one else I wanted to do it with. I told you this. When I messaged you, I was like, Kyle is the only person I would want to talk an hour and a half about this for. Like, I was like, dude, like, he knows Dynasty like I do.
Yeah, well, I mean, we love the Dynasty Gambit. We've loved having you on, dating back to years. Heck, before I was even a co-host on the show, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, it's for sure appreciate when you reached out. Because we were trying to line up guests, or I was trying to line up guests for these next couple of weeks. Couple episodes, we've had different of the rankers on. Which I guess you're going for 2 ranker as well. So that's 3 weeks in a row we've had different people from the going for 2 ranking consensus on. Last episodes we talked a lot more about players though, but again, this was super fun.
This was different. Like, we didn't even talk about players. We talked about strategies and tools and just evaluate. I think people sometimes just get so
overwhelmed?
No, not overwhelmed. Like,
overexposed.
When you get too much overinflated, I don't know the word. Overinflated with so much. Oh, this player, that player, this player. But how do I know if I'm making this trade right?
Information overload, I think is what you're trying to say.
Overloaded, yeah, overloaded. Oh, but how do I know? How do I evaluate? How do I know? How do I know what my league thinks? How do I know what they think? What can I? How do I know if I'm a contender? How do I know? What can I do in my team? Like, what am I doing? I think this tool, you have it in the palm of your hand for free. Take advantage of it.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, thanks, Gerson, for joining. Thank you, Daddy for existing and giving us all this great content to talk about on this episode. They're not a sponsor. Our sponsor is Underdog Fantasy. And I'll plug it one more time. Scan the QR code or use the promo code GF2 when joining Underdog Fantasy, and they will double your deposit match up to $100. So join Underdog Fantasy today. And Gerson, thanks for joining us here on the Dynasty Gambit. Us, me, and the listeners, of course. That's Jamie, Dave in the chat. Appreciate them all.
Everyone.
Appreciate everyone who's listening to the podcast or watching on any of our live feeds. You can follow Gerson on Twitter at FantasyGDFS. And when it comes to in-season DFS, it's in the name right there. Gerson's part of one of the co-hosts of the Going for Two live DFS show, which will be on Friday nights in season. I know sometimes you'll also, I guess Jeff's busy with a lot of PLP, so maybe this might not happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes you guys will do an off-season DFS show to talk about strategy more than players. Again, I know how much you love talking strategy. So
yeah, man. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Awesome. And of course, thank you to all the listeners and viewers. Once again, I'm Kyle Senra on Twitter at SenraSays. And this was another episode of the Dynasty Gambit. Bye for now. And go Ticats. Yeah. Eat 'em raw.